recently an article was posted by a gentleman by the name of Avi Perry, who has a radio talk show on the Pal Talk News Network regarding security versus privacy, where he essentially tries to explain to people how the NSA spying on American citizens can be a good thing because it protects our security as opposed to our privacy. And which he then goes on to talk about how Israel, the state of Israel, has been working on protecting its security of its citizens as opposed to the privacy of its citizens. Where basically he's trying to say how superior Israel is to the United States in terms of its security. Now, let's ignore the fact that a majority of Israel's technology happens to come from, us, and a few other places as well. We also need to keep in mind that there is a very different attitude between the documents of Israeli and the United States governments. The United States is protected, or the citizens of the United States are protected by something that is called the Constitution. Now, the Israeli Constitution and the United States Constitution, for many areas, could be considered fairly similar. I'm not going to bother going into all of the differences, but they're there. One of the things that Avi Perry fails to mention as far as the United States government is concerned is the fact that the United States is protecting its citizens through something called the Fourth Amendment. Now, I'm just going to read the Fourth Amendment to you here rather quickly. It's an article here by Wikipedia. Here's the text of the Fourth Amendment. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Now, there's I'm going to post the article of the Fourth Amendment along with Avi Perry's article down below. But you see, I tried to look up the Israeli Constitution to see if they had anything similar to search and seizure. Or I might not have found it. Perhaps those of you who are more familiar with Israeli law or the Israeli Constitution can correct me, in which case I will, post a correction to my information. But let me read to you a little bit of Avi Perry's article, because it's rather fascinating here, where he kind of goes with this thought experiment. Here's a paragraph out of it. Most Israelis understand that freedom without security is a fake freedom. Security guarantees freedom of movement. It is a prerequisite for enjoying a meal at a restaurant with no fear of getting blown up. It guards against the possibility of a shopping experience would end up in a trip to the morgue. Terrorism risk in Israel is close and personal. The sense that next time it could be me is real. That is why security takes such a high priority and privacy concerns move way down the priority list. Now, I could say a lot of things, and most of what I would say would be considered by some people who regard the state of Israel as this holy, sacred, magnanimous and wonderful place. If you dare to criticize something that the nation of Israel does, you automatically regard it as anti-Jewish or anti-Semitic, which, most people that know me know that I'm against everybody, but that's beside the point. But the problem is that, yes, in Israel, it's up close and personal. At any moment, you could be killed. It's the same thing here. Here in the United States, if you go to a shopping mall, there's a risk that you could run into somebody who's had a few too many Red Bulls and a few too much personal heartache and aggravation and grief to turn around and start shooting people. I don't know if Mr. Perry has actually read the news lately, but we in the United States do have our fair share of problems when it comes to, fanatical nut jobs trying to use violence to justify their ideology. We call them Republicans. And, it's not necessarily a big shock to us. Mr. Perry obviously seems to think that we here in the United States, even though he lives here, seems to think that we here in the United States do not have our fair share of problems in dealing with crime. And the thing is, if we allow these criminals to overthrow our personal liberty and overthrow our right to privacy, they will have won. Think about this for a minute. If we allow these individuals to create a situation where we are always looking over our shoulder and we're always suspecting our neighbor, they'll have won because they've sown the seeds of fear, and that is the whole point of terrorism. If you really want to make a dent in terrorism, there's a couple of things you could do. One, I'm not going to say because it would violate YouTube's terms of service policy and a few other places as well, so I'm not going to do that. But one of the things that we need to do is we need to start treating terrorists as criminals. We need to stop making these guys sound like that they have a legitimate grievance, or that they're, or that we need to basically treat their actions as the criminal acts they are. And I think if we start doing that, and we remain within the letter of the law, and if we follow the letter of the law, we're supposed to be a nation of laws, we're supposed to be a nation of liberty. If we let these criminals get us to the point where we're changing our government to suit them or to fight against them, they'll have won, because the purpose was to change our government. The purpose is to make us afraid. Do we really want that? He talks about how privacy is such a irrelevant concern. Really? Because as far as I see it, I value my privacy. Not that I'm doing anything wrong, but you know what? I don't have to answer any questions I don't want to. I don't have to give a policeman access to my house unless they have a warrant. And there's a very good reason for that, because it's in the Constitution. If we abandon the Constitution for the sake of security, like Israel does, we're no better than the terrorists, and they'll have won. This is Dumac the Artist signing off. Slanchini Falcha. Have a nice day.